Senator Feingold.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you both for testifying here today. Ambassador, I want to thank you for all the time you've given me over the years, especially when we were in Pakistan, and your briefings on that critical country in general, on both occasions that I was in Iraq, the time you spent helping me understand these variety of issues. I too thank you for your service. But, Mr. Chairman, it is simply tragic that 6 years to the day after the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, our attention is so focused on what has been the greatest mistake in the fight against al-Qaeda, and that's the Iraq War. Both yesterday at the House hearings and today, there has been virtually no reference by either the members of Congress or the witnesses to the broader context outside of Iraq. I strongly supported the decision to go to war in Afghanistan, which served as a sanctuary for al-Qaeda. The war in Iraq has been a terrible diversion from Afghanistan and from what should be a global fight against a global enemy. As this summer's declassified NIE confirmed, al-Qaeda remains the most serious threat to the United States. And key elements of that threat have been regenerated or even enhanced. While our attention and resources have been focused on Iraq, al-Qaeda has protected its safe haven in Pakistan and increased cooperation with regional terrorist groups. So the question we must answer is not whether we are winning or losing in Iraq, but whether Iraq is helping or hurting our efforts to defeat al-Qaeda. That is the lesson of 9/11. And it's a lesson we must remember today and I would say every single day. And in that vein, this past July, President Bush referred to al-Qaeda more than 90 times in a single speech about Iraq, and has repeatedly called Iraq the central front or the key theater in the war on terror. But this is misleading at best, as is the effort to suggest that al-Qaeda is the primary driver of violence in Iraq. While AQI may give al-Qaeda an extended reach, our extreme focus on Iraq, I think, prevents us from adequately addressing the global nature of al-Qaeda and from targeting sufficient resources, whether they're military, diplomatic, intelligence, or financial, to other parts of the world where al-Qaeda is operating. Now, Senator Hagel mentioned some of the other places. He mentioned Iran, he mentioned Syria, he mentioned the Middle East, but what about Africa? Last week, for example, 2 bombs exploded in Algeria, killing more than 50 people and wounding scores more. Both explosions were virtually unnoticed here in the United States, as were the ones that exploded in the same region this past April and that were claimed by, as you both know, another al-Qaeda affiliate, known as al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb. So I'd like to ask first General Petraeus and Ambassador Crocker, do you believe that the United States is providing sufficient resources to address the threat posed by al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb? Ambassador?
Senator, frankly, that takes me a little bit beyond my area of expertise. I don't focus on the Maghreb. I could say a few things based on my 2.5 years in Pakistan, and of course I went directly from Pakistan to Iraq in March. That is, the presence of al-Qaeda in the Pakistan-Afghanistan border area is a major challenge to us.
How concerned are you about al-Qaeda's safe haven in Pakistan?
We're all quite concerned.
Well, which is more important to defeating al-Qaeda, the situation in Pakistan or the situation in Iraq, Ambassador?
I'd say just one.
That's surely within your expertise.
Yes, sir.
You've been the ambassador to one and the ambassador to the other.
Yes, sir, which is why I'm addressing this. The challenges in confronting al-Qaeda in the Pak-Afghan border area are immense and they're complicated. I did not feel, from my perspective as ambassador to Pakistan, that the focus, the resources, the people needed to deal with that situation weren't available or weren't there because of Iraq.
What's more important, though, to fighting al-Qaeda, the situation in Pakistan or the situation in Iraq?
Senator, in my view, fighting al-Qaeda is what's important, whatever front they're on. Fighting al-Qaeda in Pakistan is critically important to us.
But Ambassador,
fighting al-Qaeda in Iraq is critically important to us.
Surely in a war you have to have priorities. Some are more important than others. I'd like to ask the General his response. What about the situation that we find in North Africa and the other regions? You obviously must take this into account in thinking about your role in Iraq.
I am not in a position to comment on the resources we've committed to the Maghreb or to other areas. General McChrystal does brief us about once a week on the overall situation, but it is clearly with a focus to how that is affecting al-Qaeda in Iraq. For what it's worth, he, the commander of the Joint Special Operations Command, and the CIA director, when I talked to them a couple of months ago, agreed that their belief is that al-Qaeda Central sees al-Qaeda in Iraq as their central front in their global war on terror. That seems confirmed by the communications that we periodically see between al-Qaeda Central and al-Qaeda Iraq, although that could be changing as a result of the loss of momentum to some degree by al-Qaeda Iraq, and it's something that we need to keep an eye on clearly.
Well, with all due respect, these two critical leaders here in our government, who I have great respect for, are not willing to seriously comment about how this relates to the larger global fight against terrorism, the allocation of resources. This is a classic example of myopia. This is the myopia of Iraq that is affecting our ability to look at this as the global challenge it is. And by the way, General, I'd like to know, when will the level of American troops' deaths start to seriously decline in Iraq?
First of all, if I could just come back to your earlier comment with respect, Senator, what this is an example of a commander focused on his area of responsibility, and that is my mission. It is to accomplish the military tasks that are associated with this policy, not to fight the overall global war on terror.
I respect that and I understand that, but I guess what I'm coming as the broader context here of our discussions, that this is the most critical hearing we've had, and yet it's only about Iraq. But go ahead and please answer the question.
Well,
when can we expect the troop deaths to decline in Iraq?
It might be, again, that Admiral Fallon or others would be the ones, or the chairman, to comment on that. There has been a gradual reduction in deaths in Iraq since about June, I believe it was. That, unfortunately, in August, we suffered a number of non-combat related deaths due to 2 helicopter crashes, although the number of combat deaths was lower.
General, just
We
let me
need to
just follow.
see what happens in ensuing months.
I want the American people to know that in every single month this year, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, and August, a significantly greater number of troops died than in the previous month in 2006, in every single month. And according to my information, there's already 32 this month. So to suggest that there was some decline in the number in June and July versus the other months does not address the fact that the number of troops deaths has greatly increased, and I'm not getting an answer that even begins to suggest when we can tell the American people that the number of troop deaths will decline.
Senator, we are on the offensive, and when you go on the offensive, you have tough fighting. That was particularly true, again, during the period immediately after the start of the surge of offensives in mid-June, and continued for a while. It appeared to have crested then and was coming down, and again, we'll have to see. We had a tragic loss yesterday, in fact, in some vehicle accidents that, again, you know, are just very, very, very sad.